Hey YouTube, it's my first time doing the video, while in the car. And the question I have is, or rather the question I have today is, how hard do you fight for your kids? And I'm asking in the context of, being a single parent. Like, I'm a single dad, and my daughter is 5 years old. And her mother tries her best, I think, but some of the decisions that she makes, they're not the best for my daughter, and she doesn't see it that way, but that's just what it is. I'm talking about in cases like meeting guys, and guys with obvious issues and problems, and exposing your children to those problems, and bouncing from relationship to relationship, having children for multiple people, and not being with those people, and the examples that you set for your children, doing things like that. And as a father, do you stand by and watch that stuff happen without doing doing the best you can, doing your best to make sure that you can protect your child, whether boy or girl, from that kind of lifestyle? And we have a responsibility, as men, to not do the same thing, as far as bringing different women, around our children, making them think, oh, it's okay to have 3 or 4 friends, come over at night, because we're all adults. We all need to have fun. We all need to release. But I think that there are times when we don't, think about how it's affecting the child. Like my parents, I remember, the school system where I'm from is very, they judge you based on your intelligence. And I'm not gearing off track here, but from what's called middle school here in my home country is called primary school. And from primary school to high school, it's a 6th to 7th grade jump. Here in the States, it's, at least where I live in Virginia, it's a 8th to 9th grade jump. Now, you have to take an exam back home in Jamaica. You have to take an exam that depicts, what school you should go to, how smart you are. So pretty much your grade point average will determine the school that you would do the best in, or the peers that you should be around. Now, I remember when I was taking that exam, they call it GSAT. It's GSAT. That's what they call it back home. I guess it's like the PSAT or the SATs here. Now, during that time, my mom and my dad were going through a lot, and I remember they were, that's around that time is when they split. Now, they were married for, I want to say 12, 13 years. Well, 12 years. Let's say 12 years. And when I found out what was going on, I took it real hard, because I adored my parents. I adored their marriage. I adored what they were trying to accomplish together. And when I saw that, it was devastating. And I remember I was one of the smarter students in the class, so much so that they elected me to be the head student for the whole school. And they wanted me to debate, do all this stuff for the school. But when that's that time frame when that stuff was happening at home, it affected me so much. And I actually don't know if my parents even know that. If they see this, they might know now, but it affected me so much, man. I couldn't focus. All I could think about was, what's gonna happen? Are they gonna get a divorce? What's gonna happen to us? Are we gonna be split up? And because there were 5 of us, and a few of us had different parents or different dads, but we never looked at each other that way. We were all very, very close. We didn't call each other half brother, half sister. We didn't call each other, you have a different name. We didn't, we were very close, and we still are. But it put all of us, not just me, all of us in this really tough situation to having to cope and deal with that new, feeling of not having your parents together. And, I didn't want that for my daughter. I tried my best to make a decision to be with someone or to, conceive a child with someone that I thought or that I could live the rest of my life with. It didn't work out that way. And, that's good. That's great because, well, it's not great, but it didn't work out that way. So here we are, trying to make the best of the situation. And, yes, it didn't work out, but you can still do things to make your child see that that's not the way. There are things you can do to make your child see that being a single parent, growing up with, dad doing this, mom doing that, it's the society we live in, it's the times we live in, and it can be done, and it can be done properly. You can grow up, get your education, you can grow up, be an upstanding citizen. You don't have to fall into the, oh yeah, she didn't have a dad in her life, or he didn't have a dad in her life, or whatever. Now, I think that us as men, we have to stand strong, because sometimes our women, and this goes both ways, so don't think I'm trying to be biased here. Sometimes it seems as though when, you and your partner split, it's like sometimes one or the other person chooses to be with people that you're just like, whoa, why? And when there's a child involved, they don't realize how much pressure and how much stress, they're putting on the child. Like for instance, if you're gonna get with someone that's married, that's just unnecessary stress you're putting on yourself, your children. If you're gonna get with someone who can't help you, who can't do anything for you or your child, who can't help your situation, who's taking from you, then you're putting that stress on yourself and your child. And I'm not saying that's what's going on. I'm just saying those are examples, So I urge my brothers, my sisters, think about these things, and don't have kids till you're ready. They're not toys. They're not pets. They're people, and people that get affected by decisions that you make, that people around you make. So you got to be careful, who you bring around your child, and, you got to fight for them. There are days when I have to miss work. There are days when I have to, not days. Just know this. Once you have a child, it's not about you anymore. Everything becomes about that child. Everything you do is about that child. And if it's not that case, then you shouldn't be a parent. And that's something that you should accept, and or accept it and change it. Not accept it and live with it. Accept it and change it. Because your child is you. The other day someone sent me a thing on Facebook where this woman was like walking in the rain, and she held her baby over her head, to shelter herself, she used a child as an umbrella. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that, I was like, mouth wide open. I don't know. I didn't know what to say. And some people thought it was funny, but there's nothing funny about that. To me, that is crazy. How can a person be a mom, and do something like that? The child's getting wet just like you are. If anything, you should, like huddle over her or him. I think it was a girl, but, cover the child up. You would think that you would want to do everything in your power to make sure this child didn't get sick, especially if the child's light enough for you to hold him or her over your head, that means it's pretty small, it's pretty young, because my daughter is 5 and I can hold her over my head, but, she getting a little heavy. But the way this girl held this baby, she couldn't have been more than 2 years old. And that's a shame. That is a shame. Someone should talk to her about that. Someone should counsel her. I'm not saying everything has to be, the gavel and the whatever the judges hit the gavel on. You know what I'm talking about. Everything doesn't have to be that. But sometimes people need counseling. People need to see that the things they're doing, people are affected, especially our children. And I'm sorry if I'm ranting here, but I just actually got out of court pertaining to my daughter, because I have custody of my daughter, and I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna try my best to keep it that way, because the lifestyle that her mom's living, I don't approve of it. And not because I'm not better than her mother. That's not what it is. It's just we see things differently, and I envision a life for my daughter that I can provide her, and whether a man pays child support or whether he visits the child, every weekend or every other weekend or whatever, if you feel as though you are a better influence on that child, you should have more time in that child's life. If I see my daughter every weekend, but she lives with her mom, and her mom lives in I'm not going to say a destructive home, but let's say, for instance, it is, then me seeing my daughter is just going to be her telling me that the house is destructive. It's not really time that she's going to get to be like, oh man, like I really, have fun. And she's just going to be like, Daddy, I want to live with you. I want to come live with you and stuff like that, and that's a shame. You don't want your children going through that. You want them to grow up seeing love, seeing the right thing, and seeing I don't know, but the moral of the story is this: fight for your children. Men, women, don't get discouraged because of I don't have the money, or I don't know if I have the time. Make the time. If you don't have the money, find a way to make the money. It's that simple. You cannot let your children suffer because of your own fear or incompetence. And I don't want to I'm not trying to say people are trying to be incompetent, but sometimes people need to get more mature and do something. Look, man, if you got to work for a trash company to make that extra buck, to send to give your child a better life, well, you need to be doing it. If you gotta, whatever it is you have to do, you need to be doing it. There's no question. There's no excuse. I don't want to know. The moment you decide to have a child, it's not about you anymore. And with that, I'll end there. You guys have a good day. Hopefully you see the points I'm trying to make. You see that I'm making valid points and it's true. If you guys disagree, of course, let me know. Have a good one.